Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Chicago Trader here. Hope you guys had a good New Year's. Essentially, what's going to be happening with me going forward, I'm going to be doing a weekly fundamental video on a certain topic, whether it be ATMs, registration statements, convertibles. There's been a lot of confusion, especially between the shelves, the effects, the 424Bs. So I think that this will help reduce some of the clutter, clear up some of the confusion, and if not, eventually I'm going to be doing weekly calls during the chat lull. I mean, obviously, you guys know I answer my DMs pretty religiously, pretty quickly for the most part. But yeah, so essentially I have my screen on the BAMSEC right now. There should be a separate PDF or PowerPoint that's titled Pipes and Shelves that I'll be talking through and kind of bouncing back and forth. But yeah, let's jump right in. So if you guys are on the PDF, jump to page 2. The first thing I want to start with, yeah, so if you look, a PIPE is a private investment in a public equity. The most important thing with these is shares are unregistered at first. Basically, that just means that they can't dump the stock in the open market yet. Yet is the key word, right? Until they are registered. Let's see if I can get this. So again, this is an S1 filing. It was filed on 11/14. And if we scroll down here, so this is where you're going to find most of your information, right? So notice this 23.2 shares, 23.2 million. So that right away tells me it's probably a secondary. See here where it says buy these selling stockholders, and it says resale in here somewhere. That just tells me that somebody, whoever this person is, somebody had 23.2 million shares from whether there's a private placement, whether they did part of, before it went IPO'd, it doesn't matter. Someone basically called the company up that had 23.2 million shares, said, hey, file this S1. That way, once it gets effect, I have the right to sell my 23 million shares. Again, they're not going to sell these all in one day, probably be a few million at a time, whatever. Yep. I always am kind of interested in who's selling them, right? So I told you that Veritas was. So if you click on that, you can see who owns what. So right here, this is kind of interesting. It's something I generally take a look at. Number of shares that they own before the offering. So before this was filed, they owned 23.2. You scroll down here. Yeah, you can kind of, if you're interested, you can read about the private placement, right? H.C. Wainwright. They just called the company and said, hey, we want the right to be able to exercise these warrants if they ever are in the money. So let's go back. So again, those are secondary offerings, right? Where there's a private placement or, somebody before the IPO owns a bunch and they come out, they call the company, they say, hey, I want the right to sell them. They say, okay, we're going to file an S1 or an S3.